you start to question your value. You start to question your self-worth.
Like, the more money you got, the more successful you are, and most people really do buy into that.
But really, I just needed a break.
What I love is helping people.
I'm Julie Bauke, and welcome to The Evolved Career, a podcast where we help you determine what truly does matter most to you and how it can have a profound impact on your life. My guest today is Suzy DeYoung of SOLAS Soup, and that's Lasoupe. Not soupe, but soup. Welcome, Suzy.
Thank you.
And your career, broadly speaking, is food.
Yeah. Always,
Yes.
always.
Yes.
Yeah.
In my research on you before doing this, I loved where you said you were born with the family genetic disorder, loving to cook.
Yeah.
Why do you call that a genetic disorder?
Well, it's not an easy life choice. It's when you go into restaurant world, you give up a lot. You get a lot, but you give up a lot.
What do you give up?
Social life, family life.
Just little things?
The little things. Well, all of your friends are getting married. It's very rare that you get off. You know, I had one year I remember thinking, am I going to get to any of my friends' weddings? Because they're always on a Saturday, and that's your busy night in the restaurant. So,
Did you ever think about changing careers while you were in the middle of that?
No.
Oh.
I couldn't figure out what else to do.
Okay.
I didn't really have another thought. I think, you know, I kind of ended up where I ended up, and I enjoyed it. So, but the times where you're working on, you know, holidays where everybody else is off, and just the grind that,
Sure.
you know, night after night after
Sure.
night is difficult, especially
Yeah.
when I had children.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So you were not carrying a spatula around at age 3. I think cooking came to you a little bit later.
Yeah. Well, my father and grandfather were both chefs, but my father died when he was 46. He was the head chef at the Maisonette and brought the first 5 stars to Cincinnati. And I can actually say without a doubt that I'll never forget the day that he said, A, stay here and learn how to cook when all the kids are outside playing kickball or kick the can or whatever we were playing. And he wanted to show me how to make a steak au poivre.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And I was all of, I'm going to say I was in 6th, maybe 5th grade.
What was your reaction to that?
No. The friends are outside. Can I please go just play? And he said, someday you're going to really wish you paid attention. And with that, I thought, I guess I'll stay. So I stayed.
Okay.
And then at the end of it, and I still remember everything about it. I can remember the smells. I remember the pan. I remember it. But I remember him saying, you will do this in a home, never for a career. I don't want you doing this.
Yeah, it's like you hear actors and actresses saying they really don't want their kids to go into the family business.
Right.
Yeah, but there you were.
There I was. I went to school for French, but I was working in restaurants so that I could go to school, and I couldn't figure out how do you get a job or interview for a job. I mean, it's different now with the internet.
Yeah.
But how do you do all of that
Yeah.
if you're working? I couldn't figure out, like, do you tell your employer, I'm looking for another job? I don't want to do this anymore. I didn't know how to do it.
So you just stayed.
I just stayed.
And it's fortuitous that you did.
Yeah.
One of the things I loved, and you said that you didn't like anything red.
Mm-mm.
You wouldn't eat any red food.
No tomato, nothing, even pizza, unless like the really, really bad microwavable pizzas
okay.
that have like a schmoo of tomato sauce.
And the schmoo is?
Just a smear of food on something that's solid.
Technical cooking term.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Family cooking term.
Yeah. We all have our weirdnesses, I think, around food. And mine was always, I'll eat eggs, but the yellow and the white can't be separate. You know, and I carry that to this day.
Oh my gosh, so no deviled eggs for you?
No, please don't make me gag on the air. No, because it will definitely make me gag. So you at that point from 6th grade on, is that when you really started taking interest in cooking?
I didn't really start taking the interest in cooking till college when I was working at Mecklenburg Gardens.
Which is a German restaurant here in Cincinnati.
And a wonderful chef, Dan, kind of took me under his wing and let me let me work in the kitchen with zero experience. And then at night, I would wait tables because you make money waiting tables.
Yes.
So, but he let me come in and work with him. And at that point, it was more just because I thought it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And, shamefully to say that I also didn't have money to eat.
Okay.
And so that would be 2 shifts of an employee meal. So I got the German lentil soup at Mecklenburg Gardens twice in a day instead of just once. So yeah, my hunger pains brought me there.
It's interesting, of all the people I've interviewed so far, and I've been doing career coaching for a very long time, it's interesting how things like need, like in your case, the need to eat, and mentorship.
Right. Mentorship is huge.
Somebody who takes an interest in you.
Right.
When you're young and somebody takes an interest in you, sometimes we automatically become interested in what they're doing as a response to that interest and care in us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that's true just in all parts of life.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So, one of the things that you have cooked for George W. Bush,
Yep.
Hillary and Bill Clinton,
Yep.
Prince Andrew,
Yep.
Bruce Springsteen, and Julia Child.
Fave.
Who? Springsteen?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was like your girl crush, right?
Still is.
Sort of your, okay,
No,
you were
use
fangirling. Yeah.
You use past tense. It's still, it's sad.
But the one that made me go, oh, was when you said you cooked for Julia Child.
I know. That was
okay.
That hurt. It was hard. And it was at the Mercantile. There is no kitchen. You are cooking.
Oh, which is the library.
In the library, between the bookshelves. You have to bring in all the hot boxes, all the equipment. These are the days, I think since then they've moved the seated meals for the Niehoff, Buck Niehoff series, I think has moved to a hotel room or somewhere that they do it where they're actually set up to do it.
Okay.
But,
So what'd you make?
Butternut squash soup and a sea bass and pasta baskets, Laurie Covert, and chocolate flourless tort.
And how was it?
Can you date that dinner?
Yeah, it still sounds good.
Yeah, it was good. But
was it good?
It was good, actually.
Did she think it was good?
She really liked it.
Good.
First of all, she came into the kitchen.
Oh.
Because she was standing there by herself. And I don't know, her escort kind of got caught talking to local other celebrity kind of people. And she was just standing there. And I thought, now or never. So I beelined over there and I said, Julia, would you like to see the kitchen? Okay. So she came over and I really wanted her to meet the staff that had worked tirelessly on this event. And she was just as normal, charming, wonderful.
I think we get ourselves all worked up that we think, people who are in the spotlight can't be nice and normal.
And she just wanted to be fed. I mean, she was looking forward. And she liked food. And I'll never forget her opening the hot box. And she did this kind of with her hand and then
Which is trying to pull smells out
and says, I smell butter.
Oh.
And it's like, I can go to my grave happy. I'm like, I loved every moment of it.
But I still have to know what you fed the boss also.
The boss was different because they don't want they don't know what he's going to want to eat.
Okay.
So you bring 3 different entrees and he is definitely a healthy eater.
Okay.
Green vegetables and sea bass, chicken, or steak.
Okay.
He chose the sea bass, and it was just a bounty of green vegetables with sea bass.
Wonderful.
Very easy. And the crew was more like that was a buffet.
Okay, yeah. The crew gets the line, the chow line.
But you know what? But they were so happy with our kind of, because we were so honored to do this for him because we're such fangirls, that I don't think they're used to eat. I've seen it backstage after that a couple of times, and nobody laid out a spread like we did.
Yeah.
So they definitely got spoiled.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes. Those are great stories. So you also had an actual physical space, a brick and mortar restaurant.
Yep.
With your sister, right?
Right. My sister, Michelle Volman. And we ran that for 25 plus years. So
it was a lot of time. That's a lot of...
for so many years, it was so much fun.
Yeah.
So many years. But physical ailments, one after another, it's
Yeah.
just long and hard on your feet, on your body. Unfortunately, our walk-in was outside, so those 3 steps that you go up and down 1,000 times a day.
Okay.
And then catering, because our mainstay was really the catering off-site. You're loading cars in, out.
Yeah.
To go to a client's house, you load into
In,
the
out, in,
van,
out. Yep.
back to their house, back into the van, back into the shop. It was just a lot of physical work. And it's not like I try to keep myself in shape. I don't know how people do it if they don't. But I had a major back surgery. That was really concerning in the sense that, will I be able to keep going? I don't know. And, it was not foreseeable, meaning it wasn't something that was creeping up on me. It was just, it happened and I had to deal with it. So that, and I just think the nature of food was changing and I wasn't changing with it.
Yeah. So you spent 25 plus years catering with a restaurant, feeding people who could pay the bill.
Right.
Feeding people who wanted fine food.
Right.
Who wanted steak au poivre, who wanted sea bass, who wanted fresh vegetables. And you had a moment, and maybe a series of moments, that took your career in a different direction.
We always were involved in different charitable organizations, like most restaurants, right? Like how many pay-to-plays is what I call them when you go and there's 20 restaurants there and you're doing your part to support the charity of your choice. There became a time where I started doing soups for charity events.
Okay.
Empty Bowls was the first one. Then I started doing a few at St. Gertrude's where my boys were in school on Make a Difference Day, where I would take the 4th graders, we'd make soup, we'd distribute the soup. The 4th grade class would choose what charity the food or the money would go to. They were in charge of selling the soup outside of mass. And it was just kind of a fun way to be engaged with the kids. But I really enjoyed it. And I really enjoyed that thought. So it was really, I think, just the burnout. And it's really hard to talk about burnout until you've been through it. Mm-hmm. Like now, I don't know if it's hard for me to even imagine mentally where I was at that time. I was angry, hateful, just didn't really enjoy working at La Petite anymore.
Yeah.
And nobody else was offering. I mean, I guess I could have gone and found a job, but to me, it was more important to look inward and say, what is it about food that I still love?
Yeah, love that.
What is it that I still want to do with food? I mean, it was like food stylist, consulting. I hate that word. I was like, what is it that I could do?
Yeah,
and
let's
I really
stop right there for a second because I think that's a crucial moment.
Oh, it totally
and
is.
You found your way to that moment, but you had to go through a lot of really negative emotions and negative experiences.
Horrible.
To come out and ask yourself that question. And in my experience, few people actually get to that moment. They get stuck in bitter, angry, just fried, nasty to be around. And you said to yourself, okay, I'm in this moment, and I'm sure it was something like this, but I'm in this moment. What is it I still like or love about where I am? So how do I separate out the stuff I'm really tired of and focus on the stuff that I'm not tired of, that I might like to turn my focus to, which is, for people listening, if you're stuck and you're trying to figure out your what's next, listen to this because this is how you do it. This is how you get out of it's not easy, but this is how you get out of a burned out situation. Go ahead.
I mean, I just laugh because it's like, it's crazy. It's what it is. But it was the hardest, most emotional, difficult thing I've ever done. And mostly, almost 100, besides obviously giving up a financial certainty, it was emotionally breaking from my business partner and my sister.
Yes. Wow.
And the the trickle down effect of whatever decision I'm making affects her. And how to get to the point that allowed myself to say, but I still have to take care of me. I
Right.
can't take care of us unless I take care of me, and I can't take care of us anymore because I don't want to do this job.
And that takes a while to get to.
It took a long time.
Especially, I think, for women. I think we're very wired to think about how does this affect everybody around me and to
Right.
really
Every
pay attention to those
employee,
relationships.
people
who are depending on you.
Right. And our clients.
Sure.
I loved our clientele.
yeah.
And I didn't want to be the loser who just left them.
Right.
You know, I wanted to leave La Petite in good hands with a good crew. It's not like I was going to leave and take people with me. And I really didn't want to in the sense for that reason, but also I needed to kind of figure it out on my own. I did not write a business plan. I did not have really any other thought. I talked to a lot of different people.
Okay. That's
I got
awesome.
a lot of advice. A lot of people from the very beginning said you need to be a nonprofit. But because what I was doing was so nobody else was doing it, I thought there's so many already question marks about this move. I don't know how to run a nonprofit. I only know how to write checks to them. I don't work for I didn't understand the fundamental differences. And so I didn't do that.
I love how you went out, and you're not going out necessarily to say to people, solve my problem for me, but it sounds like you did it the right way. You were asking for their input and their perspective and then considered that as you were looking at yourself.
I considered all of it, and all I kept thinking is there's enough unknowns. I got to just run this like I would if I was in it to make money.
Okay.
And just trust the process. The process was not easy in that sense. We were certainly not bringing in enough money. The location is not a retail location. But I also did that on purpose because I didn't want the pressure of having people coming in all day when I'm still just trying to figure out how am I going to get the food? Who's going to bring me the food? What food am I going to rescue? Could it be used for soup? I mean, there was just a myriad of questions.
So here you are saying, okay, I'm going to jump in. I've got all these things that are unknown. Here's how I'm going to do it. So tell us, let's stop right here for a second and tell us what SOLAS Soup is today. And then let's back up and talk about how you get there.
Okay. So SOLAS Soup today is a 3-pronged mission of rescue, transform, and share. So we rescue produce on all different levels of the supply chain. It can be from wholesalers. It can be from grocers. We only accept food from certified places. Like if you have a carrot from your house, I can't take it.
Okay.
Local farmers, big time now, donate to us or just drop by with things that they were unable to sell. They're usually what we call imperfect foods. And then we transform it and make it into something. You couldn't give a person in poverty a head of cauliflower and expect them, here, it's free, take it, eat it, it's better for you than the bag of chips. That
wouldn't work with me
It
either.
doesn't work. So then finding the people and the ways to share it with people.
So were you transforming it mostly into soup?
Almost always into soup, at least in the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah. But then we had the salads. Then we'd get all this lettuce mix, and we actually came up with a soup that is still one of our best sellers, which I call Power Green Soup. It's green vegetables, mostly green lettuces, spinach and kale and broccoli, and it's a bright green soup, but it's seasoned with lemon juice and not much salt, and it's about as healthy as it's kind of like a warm green smoothie, I guess. But
So you feed people who can't afford it, but you also sell?
We sell it. We sell about 8%, 7% of what. And it was always for me very important that if it's good enough for me and I'm putting my name on it, it's good enough for people to buy, but that's not the purpose. But if you would like it, I'm not going to say this soup is for this person because they don't have money.
Okay.
This soup is for Julie because she does have money. To me, that defeats the whole story and the whole purpose.
Yes.
And I think, there are 2 or 3 soups that we do that we purposefully go out and get beef for beef bourguignon, in lobster bodies, lobster meat, cream, sherry for the lobster bisque. There's some soups that we offer because of my past And at La Petite, I supplied many, 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 many families with their beef bourguignon or their lobster bisque that they've eaten for years as their Christmas Eve and Christmas dinner, or New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. So I felt very, I felt like it would be wrong for me if I changed my career not to offer that so that they could continue with their family tradition.
So people, the 8%, the people who buy the soups, that helps fund.
It helps.
Also.
Yeah, it's about not quite quarter of our funding.
Okay.
It's mostly grants and foundations.
So you get the produce, you transform it.
Yep.
And take me back to that moment when you're like, okay, how did you find the most pressing needs to address first? What was that moment?
The first was to find the food, because I'm not in this field, but I see waste on
Yes.
every level.
Sure.
And I talked to other chefs. I talked to Jean Robert for a long time, and I'll
Very
never
famous
forget
French chef here in Cincinnati.
here. And I said, "Do you think there's enough waste in the restaurants?" Like, that was where I was eyeballing
Sure.
it. And he said, "I would go to Kroger." So what I ended up doing was cyberstalking for real, a woman who I thought looked, acted, sounded like everything I could read. I think I've got the right person. Now, if I could just get her to respond. And she did, and her name was Lynn Marmer. And I explained to her how much food I see on a day-to-day basis going into the landfill, because La Petite sits above the Madeira Kroger.
Okay.
So we can see it. And she's like, "No, it really gets donated." And I'm like, "Not here, it doesn't. I see it." And what
So
they
you
were
tattled.
calling, I was like, I didn't enter this to be a whistleblower at all. I just wanted to know why. And if it's going into the dumpster, why can't I take it? And, on their level, they've got to keep the best,
Sure.
because their clients are demanding the best.
Right.
But we don't need the best. We're just cutting it up, boiling it, and putting it
Exactly.
into soup.
Right.
So she paved the way for me for sure.
Okay.
Never
So now
could
you
gotten there.
have the food coming in. You, of course, have all this experience making wonderful soup, and you know what works and you know what doesn't.
Right.
So how do you then go to who are we going to feed with this soup? Where was your low-hanging fruit there?
It was, I really wanted to get to the kids, because the aha moment that I had was, and I would give my right arm to find that newspaper the day that it was all in one article, or not in one article, but one issue. And it was in the Cincinnati Enquirer, and they were talking about the absurd level of poverty and food insecurity in our city. And it was probably my guess in the USA Today insert that it was talking about food waste, and that was the same number. And I'm like, is anybody looking at how dumb this looks? 40% is being thrown away that's perfectly edible and perfectly fine. If we could just take that and move it over to those in poverty. I mean, I know that you can't just give the head of cauliflower. We've got to do something with it to make it easy for people to eat it. But yeah, it was one newspaper article or one day in the newspaper that I saw two staggering statistics that made me go, whoa. So it really all changed when social media, Facebook, and a teacher from Euler,
An elementary school
and lower price school. Well, it's not it's K through 12.
K through 12. Okay.
And she wrote about coming back from. She came back from her not Christmas break, a snow day. A Friday was a snow day, so she was there on a Monday. She went looking for a child that was too weak from hunger to climb the steps.
Oh.
So I literally went rogue. I read this whole thing about, how we're failing these children. This kid's going to take a state standardized test, and she's just hungry. She's not going to be able to perform. She's judged. The teachers judged, the school, the state, the district. Everybody's going to be judged when all this child needed was something to eat. So I literally went rogue and went down.
Sounds like that ignited.
It did. And then it was like, how many schools could we do this with? And at the same time, I had a woman come into the shop who she said I had the same kind of vision. I was going to do this with a food truck. I was going to sell food on the weekends at festivals and healthy meals at festivals and stuff. And then during the week, I was going to take the same food truck and go into food deserts. And her name's Mimi Dyer. She's now our board president.
Okay.
And she had the flywheel knowledge of she worked with nonprofits, with Pro Kids. She was a Kinderwelt. Had way, way, way more experience than I ever did in any of that. So she's just like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay and work with you, and let's just do this
Wonderful.
together. So
Yes. Yeah.
her walking in at that point was crucial because it was like, no, let's get volunteers. You don't have to drive it to the west side. Let's get a volunteer. And so then we saw this app that had just been developed. It was being used in Columbus, and I saw somebody sent me, it was in a trade magazine, so we got a hold of them. And like I said, Columbus was a test market. So we drove up there and rode around with them, and we were like, this is what we need. This app will tell us and help us schedule. It's like a really, really, really focused sign-up genius. I mean,
That's
in
what
essence,
what's it called?
Food Rescue US.
Oh, okay.
So when you go on the app, you put in your, all your whatever, your driver's license, all your info, whatever. And then you can look and say, I don't have anything every Monday from 8 a.m. to noon. I would love to do something. And you'll see how many runs that we've scheduled at various grocery stores or farm markets or wherever we're picking up the food. And then you just say, I could do that every Monday. I'll adopt that run. I'll do that every Monday. So that's how, and then it just kept growing from that point. And to where we've got 1,500 registered volunteers today.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's a quote that I saw attributed to you that tells me that, this was in your heart, even when you were at La Petite. I'll never forget sitting at the window of La Petite and wishing we could just get a bus of homeless people up here so I could feed them. So that was in your heart and on your mind.
For a long time.
For a long time.
Yeah.
And so I think when we have that on our heart, it draws opportunity to us in ways that we can't even understand.
I never understood it. I can tell you that. I mean, I'm Catholic. I remember saying that I would drop the boys off to St. Gertrude's, and then I'd go over to 8 o'clock Mass. And I started to kind of, I don't even know what to call it. I wasn't creeped out by it, but I'm like, I know the gospel changes every day. And why is it that all I keep hearing is feed my sheep? Why is it that that's all I can hear?
Okay.
So I think in my voice, in my head, I would use that time 30 minutes, some days 15 minutes, depending on who was saying the Mass. It could be really quick. But it was just a time to kind of quietly reflect. But the voice that I kept hearing was feed my sheep. And it was what I was, I know now that this was my purpose. All these restaurants that open and close every day, they're always after the same 60% of our city, right?
Yeah.
There's 40% of other people out there that just want to eat too.
That's a great way to look at it.
And why not cook for the 40%? I enjoy the 60% just like everybody else.
Yeah.
I like going to every restaurant too, but I like the version of I don't have to ever think about what is it that I feel like making, because what I make or what our team makes is based on what we receive.
Yeah.
So as the internet grew, as sourcing became, everybody wants everything when they want it. They don't want to eat in the seasons. You see people, eating corn on the cob in the middle of the winter. That is our world today. So there's too many choices. If I go into a store, I'm a boutique shopper. I like 4 choices. I don't want 400.
Right.
And in today's food world, there's 400 choices every
it's
single
overwhelming.
day. It is overwhelming. So for me, it kind of just simplified my brain, my creative brain, to say, all we got are, I'll never forget the potatoes and apples. All we got are potatoes and apples. What are we going to do with the potatoes and apples? And I remember having in France a Calvados. It was a potato vichyssoise that was seasoned with apple. And I was like, let's just try that, I guess. And it became a hot seller. It was hot summer, a little bit of brandy and a cold soup with apples and potatoes. And I made it because that's what we had. And
Yes.
I was absolutely adamant I wasn't going to be buying food.
Yes.
We buy
love that.
what we have to, meaning very, very, very rarely would you see a vegetable be purchased. If anything, it's seasoning, oil,
Yes.
In the season, we dried a bunch of herbs. So we do have a lot of herbs. And again, with all the restaurants that close, it's, we love when they are mindful and call and say, well, do you want to come rescue all the food in the walk-in? Because then at least it's getting used.
Right. Love
And-
that word rescue as applied to food.
Yeah, I do too.
So now you get you rescue food from restaurants as well as grocery stores and
Mhm.
farmers.
Yeah, and wholesalers. So
Okay.
the biggest organic wholesaler is CrossFit. And we go there now twice a week. We also, we wouldn't be where we are today with a company called Sugar Creek. And Sugar Creek, Julie Richardson is the CEO's wife. She heard me speak. She went inward and looked at what they're throwing away at Sugar Creek. They're a co-packer,
Okay.
and they're also the single largest bacon producer in the country.
Wow.
And she made every co-packing company jump through hoops, whatever, but she got them all to say, instead of throwing this food away, we will donate it. And it took a while. It was, their legal team had to cross all the T's, dot the I's. But before long, through the connections that I had already made and her connections, they now really are almost a zero waste company. And that is when we started getting protein, because we never really had
Yes.
proteins before.
Yeah.
It was almost always vegetarian.
Yeah.
But they have a lot of chicken, they have a lot of bacon, they have a lot of pork products. And then some of their co-packing, companies, cheese, salami, crackers,
Oh my gosh.
almonds. So we make little snack packs for kids, and it
wonderful.
works. And we said the other day to somebody that, I wonder how much will save you in your Rumpke charge.
Mhm.
Like how much food you were putting into a dumpster. You're not paying us to pick it up. We're picking it up. So really, financially, you should at some point see a better bottom line.
Mhm. Wonderful. I
Yeah.
love that.
It wasn't in the game plan, but I started
Right.
thinking about it,
It's a
and I thought,
byproduct of what what you're
there's
doing.
a lot of byproduct.
Yes, yeah. So here we're sitting here today. Give us a feel for the scope of your impact. How do you measure your success? Like, is
Oh,
it
my God.
meals,
Pounds.
pounds? So give us some of your big numbers.
Everything is weighed. So everything coming in is weighed. So this year, before 2020 hit, so I think it was in November of 2019, we hit over 1 million pounds
Wow.
rescued. And we transformed that into over 650,000 servings. We measure servings, not meal.
Yes.
And not diners, not people, because we have no idea
Right.
when it goes to somebody's home, is that one person
Right.
eating or two?
Yeah.
And then we have, that's a transformational piece. We have over 1,500 volunteers. We deliver to over 83 partnering agencies. We have 60 agencies and or schools. I call the agencies schools, whatever, on hold, that we just cannot fill the
You mean
need.
kind of a waiting list to me?
No, but nice long waiting list,
Yeah.
which we're moving from our lovely 900 square feet building. Yeah, all this happens in 900 square
900
feet
square feet?
with
Oh my
one building
gosh.
or
Yeah.
one door that you go in and out of. We put a walk-in outside. We have a 6-burner and a tilt skillet.
Wow.
And that's it. So, you got to turn the tilt at least 3 times a day. It somehow just works. Maybe because there's nowhere to hide. There's nowhere to lose anything. It is what it is. We also have a wonderful partner with United Dairy Farmers that gives us pallet space at their Erlanger huge
Kentucky
cold
facility.
cold room. Yeah.
Yes, wonderful.
So we can hold food there and rotate out of that, especially when you get these last minute calls of, can you take this? I mean, it
the
haunts
answer is
me.
always yes.
It always is. Well, almost always. I can say once I said no to literally a semi of baked potatoes. Yeah. And I'm like, your semi has more space than my space.
Exactly. Can I borrow your semi?
I said, if you want to park and let me work off your semi for the rest of your life, that would be fine. But
I know you're about what you have, the servings you've been able to get into people's mouths and their bellies. But you were the local Cincinnati nominee for a Jefferson Award in 2017.
Yep.
So you got to go to Washington.
Yeah.
With lots of other people doing really impactful things.
That was
a
great experience. It was a wild experience because you don't realize how many great people are out there. And at the breakfast, they do this breakfast where everybody, there's like, I want to say a minute montage of all the people that are there. And I mean, it was like tearful. Yeah. Like, I can't believe there's that many great, good people giving of themselves.
They just don't get the attention they deserve. And then you got the Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis Award for Outstanding Service Benefiting Local Communities. Was that a national award?
That's the Jefferson.
Oh, that's the Jefferson. Okay.
Yep. Where I got to sit, with Bon Jovi and Dorothea Bon Jovi.
Oh, my.
Because they were the public winners, and I was the private winner.
Oh, that is so wonderful.
And I've really communicated a lot now with Dorothea because of their John Bon Jovi Soul Kitchen, and my daughter happens to live in Jersey, so we've been there more than a few times.
Wonderful.
And I mean, I love what they're doing and how they're approaching it, and I love talking to other people and trying to learn, like, maybe there's one little thing that they do that would really help us, and sharing like minds.
So before we get into some of my closing questions, tell me how people can learn more about you and what you're doing, and if they want to learn more about how they can help, how would they find that out?
So our website primarily is La Soup Cincinnati.
LASOUPE Cincinnati.com. Okay.
The biggest part right now is that we are moving. So we're moving to Walnut Hills. Hopefully the first week of March is what we're still saying. It's 915 East McMillan. This is a 10,000 square foot.
Wow.
So we're adding...
You can get all those baked potatoes back now.
I know. I can tell them to bring on the taters. But the biggest difference there will be, obviously the kitchen space, a loading dock. I mean, that's like, that's huge for us. A lot of walk-in space, blast chillers. I mean, all the things that we know will make us that much more efficient and get those people off our list. But I think the biggest part is the front end. It's not a dining room. You cannot come in and sit down and have dinner. That's not what we're about. There'll be a grab and go. You can still get the soups.
Love that.
But it's an improv cooking studio. So we want the community to come and learn how to use excess food. Like, we have the Scholar House literally next to us. That's single moms getting their college degree with children. So we can teach the mothers, we can teach the kids. I just think the arts are going away, and culinary arts being removed from all the schools, just the same as musical arts. That is a life lessons that people they're not exposed to. So being in a neighborhood that is at need, it is a food desert, that will be there for them. And we're going to try to figure out the best way and listen to them and about what they need. But I think the improv cooking studio will be a real big game changer for the community. And then at night, we hope to host community dinners where the community is involved. It's not, I would love, I just picture some older woman coming in and saying, oh, I used to make such and such. Well, tell me about it. Let's make it, and you can invite your friends to dinner.
I love that.
Because there's been a lot of the older people. There's a lot of elderly in Walnut Hills. And one of the things that I keep thinking that they don't have the space anymore to invite their family for dinner.
My gosh.
So if we could,
like a community kitchen, big tables,
exactly.
Yes,
one
wonderful.
Nice big table and break bread together.
So you're not angry and burnt out anymore, are you?
No, I'm re-energized.
Yes, and all you had to do, you didn't have to change the core thing you were interested in. You just pivoted.
Yeah. It was a definite pivot and just focused on the 40% and not the 60% of diners.
Yes.
Everybody has to eat.
Right. Someday, when you're gone and people are talking about you, what do you hope? How do you hope they'll complete the sentence? The most profound impact Suzy made in her life was
Sharing her God-given talent.
wonderful. Thank you. Are you ready to play? 2 questions, one deep and one shallow.
Oh, geez. Okay. Let's go.
All right. Let's see.
This is
All
not
right.
rehearsed.
No, exactly. That's why I
Really?
don't tell you in advance. Here's the deep one. We'll go deep first, then shallow. I like to keep my options open.
Okay.
What does it mean to have a good life to you?
I think anymore it's health in all aspects. I mean, I have suffered a lot of friends and family that have not been blessed with good health. And, and you refer to times like before the diagnosis, life was different before. So I think the biggest blessing I can say is, I've had health crises that I've worked through, but in those moments, I ask the question, will it ever be like it was? So to really try to sit back and appreciate that I have good health.
Yes, absolutely. The older you get, the more important that is.
Yes.
So now the shallow question. What personality trait of yours has gotten you in the most trouble?
My mouth.
What does that mouth do?
No filter.
Okay.
I say I open mouth, insert foot way too many times because I never I always say to people I don't ever mean to offend anybody, but they're always like, did you just say that? I'm like, am I not allowed to say that?
Is it more stuff? Do you say stuff that other people are afraid to say?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah. And I think that's there's way too little of that. There's a lot of tiptoeing around.
Well,
in
because
tough situations.
Well, and everything is politically. What's the word I'm looking for? You're not allowed to say that in today's world. You're not allowed to say this. You're not allowed to say that. It's like you're almost afraid to speak sometimes because who are you going to offend?
Yeah.
And it's like the thing I just want to tell people, if I offended you, it was never on purpose. It's out of stupidity. I didn't know that I did offend you.
So you're a little asterisk beside everything you say.
Exactly.
Okay, so because it's my show, I'm going to ask one more shallow question because I want to. If you could choose your own nickname, what would it be?
Well, I don't know that I chose it, but it's been chosen for me, the honey badger.
Honey badger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
honey badger don't care.
No, it's a little worse than that.
Okay.
Honey badger don't give up.
Yeah. Okay, there we go back to that mouth.
Yeah. Yep. Look it up on it's a YouTube. You've seen the YouTube video.
Yes, they're so funny.
And so many people are like, oh my God, that's you, Suzy. You just don't stop. And I'm like, because I don't really care.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
And because I got that a lot in the beginning. If
Well,
it was so easy, then I'm like, I don't know why nobody's doing it. If I'm not supposed to do it, somebody will come and tell me I'm not supposed to do it, but I'm doing it.
Yeah.
It's
What they say,
working.
ask for forgiveness instead of permission.
And I said it's all straight from the heart.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thank you so much for your
Oh,
time.
you're welcome. This
for
was
sharing
fun.
your wonderful
Really
story.
fun.
And you are a great example of someone who can take what they've done in their career to date and turn it into something that is more meaningful to them. And then in your case, to the world. So we get really...
And attract the people the volunteers that we have, they are the backbone.
Did you say 1,500 volunteers?
Yeah. But I mean, and 900 square feet, so just do that.
Yeah.
But you really only see probably 200 or 300 of them, but it's very, very rare that we'll go, oh my gosh, somebody doesn't, we need to get some runners for this. It's like, because everybody wants a way that they can help.
Yes.
And there's so many different ways. I mean, we have special needs kids and adults that come in and just put stickers on things.
Yeah.
And we have another group of older women that really, they can't stand and chop and slice and dice, but they put the donuts and wrap them and, there's something for everybody.
There is. I love that. You've created a hub and you've attracted all these wonderful spokes.
All the good people want to help.
Yes.
Everybody sees it as it is simple, but if we have to do it together.
Yes, that's
So-
a great way to end. Thank you so much for your time. I hope
Thank
you
you,
have
Julie.
inspired some people to help. And it's SOLAS Soup, Cincinnati.
LawSoupCincinnati.com.
Go there and find a way to give. Thank you, Suzy.
Awesome. Thank you.
If you enjoyed meeting the Evolved Careerist on today's episode, well, we've got a lot more lined up for you. Subscribe, tell your friends, rate us and write a review. And of course, follow us on social media. But if you're interested in learning more about how you can evolve your career, you can contact us through theevolvedcareer.com or thebaukegroup.com, and that's Bauke. Do you know somebody who'd be a great guest, who has a great career story to tell? Or do you think you qualify? Then email me. My email address is in the podcast description. Until next time, here's to your career happiness.